Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor, and in today's video we're going to be discussing what's going on with UK house prices. And I'm doing an update video because back in January I posted a video where I did a forecast, my own personal forecast, which I prefaced with, I'm just some guy on the internet, don't listen to me. But I do have a lot of connections, I am personally invested, I've got £3.5 million worth of property, so it really does matter to me what happens, and I've got £1.4 million worth of debt, so interest rates massively affect me, and I felt able to sort of give a prediction and a commentary on what I thought was going to happen. So if you like this sort of video, give it a big like, it really does help me out with the algorithm, and if you haven't already subscribed, consider subscribing. Let's get into the video, let's talk about what I said previously. So my prediction back in January was basically that we would have a bit of stagnation for the next sort of 5, 6, 7 months, whilst buyers got used to these new higher interest rates. And I could see a couple of things maybe happening. Either the economy goes into a bit of a recession and the Bank of England hit it all a little bit too hard with the interest rate rises, and then they have to really back off and give a lot of monetary easing policies, opening up flows of money, and then assets would rise in value very, very rapidly. Or that people would just get used to a new normal and feel more comfortable buying with higher interest rates. They would change their budgets, they would change their spending habits, and wages might rise a little bit to keep up with inflation. And all of those things will mean that we'll just create a new normal environment. And underpinning all of this, I believe, and I still believe, and I said it back then and I say it right now, that the demand outstrips supply in the UK. And that underlying fact, coupled with the fact that a house or a place to live is not a discretionary purchase or a discretionary thing to pay for rent on, it is something that you must have. You will cut back on your trips to the cinema, on your Domino's pizzas, way before you become homeless. You will cut back on all of those things first. With all of that said, I think that provides a very strong bedrock for UK house prices. Now, over the last year, we've had 10% inflation, and house prices haven't really risen at all. In fact, if you look at it on a 12-month trailing basis, house prices are basically flat, zero. No up, no down. I know there's been some ups and downs on every single month, but 12-month trailing basis, zero rise. Inflation in the same period, about 10%. So in real terms, house prices have dropped by 10%. Now in nominal terms, i.e. the number, the money number, they've stayed exactly the same. And what's really interesting about that is your debt has also decreased, if you've got a mortgage, by 10% in real terms. Not in nominal number, but in real terms. With all of that said, I think my previous prediction is starting to come true. House prices have basically stayed about stable. People are starting to get used to higher interest rates and change their budgets accordingly. And whilst there hasn't been this recession, which was one of my sort of outcomes, it was only one of my outcomes, I did say that it would either be a recession or that people would get used to the new normal. And the second half of this year, I felt that people would get on with their lives, whatever that meant, and that house prices would start to rise. People would start to commit to spending more money and commit to making sure that they were doing those onward purchases. And that is what seems to be coming true. I'm speaking to people at the moment, investors who have been on the sideline, and they're returning. They're returning because rents have risen. So a good example is one of my properties in Sheffield. It was being rented out for about 2 years ago. It would have gone for about £650 a month. We've just rented out for £950 a month. Now the mortgage absolutely has gone up. It's an £80,000 mortgage and it's gone up from 2%, I think, to about 4.5%, 5%. So big, big increase. But it's only gone from £200 to £400 a month, and the rent's gone from £650 to £950. So all things considered, I'm actually making more money out of that property than I was before. Now, the reality is the market works in this way, doesn't it? Because investors and people who create demand won't enter the market if there isn't a profit to be made. This is capitalism. If there's a profit to be made, we enter the market and we deliver the product and service. And there has to be a profit at the end of that. So that's kind of played out on a big scale, and I think that the investors kind of moved out of the market over the last 12 months, started to get a bit scared. Some of them I know have been selling off properties, but now we're getting a little bit more visibility. Now rents are reaching record numbers. I think they're up about 12% over the last sort of 18 months, which is a big, big rise. House prices rose really rapidly in 2020 and rents relatively stayed the same. but then they very quickly started to rise up behind them. And now you're finding yourself in an environment where rents are rising quite quickly, house prices are staying about stagnant, mortgage rates absolutely have increased, but the margin is there. So for an investor's perspective, I think that UK house prices right now are a very, very interesting proposition. And I'm going to predict over the next 6 months a rise of about 4%. I think we'll raise from June 2023 to December 2023. I think we'll go up by 4%. So we're going to write that down somewhere, Tom, and we're going to make sure we come back to this point. But that's my prediction. I think that people have got used to it. I think investors are coming back to the market. I think mortgage approvals are at big numbers at the moment. They've risen significantly over the last 6 months because people are now feeling more confident about locking in at a higher rate. It's just become the new normal, and people don't want to waste their lives waiting forever. So for me, I think house prices rise by 4%. I think rents continue to rise as demand outstrips supply. We had over 20 people want to look around our property in Sheffield, which we had put up for more than ever, but for more than anybody else, and for more than we've ever charged. And we still had 20 applicants. Demand is so high compared to supply. So there's so much opportunity out there for investors. And even if you're a first-time buyer, I think you're in a position today where I would feel confident about making a decision and buying my first house. There's no question. Now, would I do it in a very expensive city where affordability might come into question? No, that's a different proposition. But if I was looking at maybe anywhere from Midlands up, there's no question I would be going out and buying something right now. And in fact, we are buying something right now. And I'll tell you more about that very, very shortly. So if you want to see more about that property, once I've completed on it, subscribe to this channel. But guys, that's my prediction. We will check back in on it. I will be as transparent as I possibly can. Like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you on my next video. Cheers, guys.